Okay, one last do an update real quick. I got my reading computer over here. Allow me to read it. So the paper is called "The Rapid Decay of Anti-SARS-CoV-2 Antibodies in Persons with Mild COVID-19," and this is something like a letter in the New England Journal of Medicine. So not a full-on paper, but it's got a little bit of data. This is how you essentially get a paper that maybe only has one figure or one interesting thing through into a big journal where a lot of people can see it with a letter like this. Yeah, it's been done. Yeah, all right. What are we looking at? What are we finding? So this is looking at people that have had mild SARS-CoV-2, and what they're showing is, first of all, it's one graph and it's a bunch of lines that kind of have a downward slope like that. Some of them only have a slight downward slope, others have about like that, yeah, like 45-degree angle downward slope. And the downward slope is the amount of antibody over time. So they took antibody levels, and they took antibody levels again. So like the first ones are somewhere around 25 to 40 days, that kind of window. And these last ones are somewhere around 90 days, but it's different in every person. They're just taking samples at different times. And so I think there's one, two, three, well, there's maybe five or six whose antibody levels seem to go up during that time, which is weird. It probably means it was a low reading before. Everybody else's antibody levels seem to go down, some quite sharply down, and the average definitely does go down. So, what do we conclude from this? It's basically showing the same things that we've seen in paper after paper after paper now, which is that the mild cases of SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19, cause fairly low amounts of antibody response that then drop off fairly quickly compared to other immune responses that can sometimes, we think, last for years and years. Yeah. Or at least we treat them as if they last for years and years. So I'm not entirely sure here if we're getting a much more accurate picture of the natural decline of an immune response, or if this is just down to SARS coronavirus 2. But I think, if anything, the COVID immune response seems to be a little lower and seems to drop off at least as fast, or maybe a little faster than other things that I've read about. So yeah, what they calculate in here is that there should be a half-life of 73. There we go, 73 days. When your immune response is cut roughly in half, and then presumably another 73 days it would be cut in half again, but they didn't test any farther than that because, like in all these studies, yeah, there just hasn't been enough time. We'll get longer studies starting to appear, I guess, first out of China because they've had more of the virus, more people to look at for longer, and then you'll start to get some out of Italy, out of the UK, out of Europe, Belgium, maybe New York City, and presumably they'll all show something fairly similar. We're all human beings, yeah, and the immune system seems to work to a large extent similarly across different populations with different backgrounds. Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of variability. I guess that's the other thing we see here. In their little chart, there is about a 2-log difference, which is a 100-fold difference in the total amount of antibody that two people with mild coronavirus will end up having. And so, yeah, everybody's probably thinking of themselves as being, at the top end of that, but they could just as easily have 1/100th of that starting amount. And when you have less and it's decaying at the same rate, which it seems to decay at the same rate in the low ones, then yeah, you're just going to run out a little bit sooner, and presumably be infectable again as soon as you've run out. So, cause for concern, yeah. New information, not super new, because we've kind of been saying about this for a long time. But it's nice to see more decent-sized studies. This one had, how many people did it have in there? I thought this one had. No, I'm conflating it with another one. Anyway, it looks like somewhere in the neighborhood of more than 20 and probably less than 50 people in this. So yeah, another little data point that seems to line up with the rest. So yeah, antibody response, which is the most testable part of the immune response, but certainly not the only part, seems to drop off pretty quickly in a way that suggests that we'll get COVID again eventually. Don't know if it's a year from now or 2 years from now, but a year from now is going to be what? Let's see. You're going to have approximately 4.5 half lives per year, something like that, or four neighborhood of 4 half lives. So you'll have half, and then a quarter, and then I don't know, 13%. And so yeah, I guess you'll be on about 6% of your starting antibody level by the time you've gone through four of those half lives, which are each 2.5 months, something like that. So yeah, 6% of your normal antibody level, or 7% if we want to round up, does not sound like a good strong response. It sounds like at some point, depending how high you started, reinfection is most likely going to be a thing that can happen. Yeah, which is terrible, but which also means that we just need to get rid of the virus. We can't do all these other things that we want to do, which I want to do as well, but which lead to spread. We've got to be very, very strict about stopping spread completely so that we can get back to whatever the new normal looks like and, yeah, go from there, but in a direction that doesn't include this particular coronavirus. Because, yeah, we've seen enough of this one, I think. So thanks very much. This is an Ask Dr. Ben update. And yeah, I hope you have a great night or morning or whatever time it is when you're watching this.